All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, which means we gotta wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. Got to make sure those tubes are working. Sometimes they are not. That turns into a big problem for us over here. Can't be talking into oblivion out there. But it looks like we are connected over on YouTube, over on Locals, over on Rumble, over on Telegram. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about what's happening in New York. We got some serious activity in the Alvin Bragg prosecution, brought to us courtesy of Judge Juan Mercan, who is presiding over this state-level case in the court there in Manhattan. And two things dropped that we're going to break down because we've got trial just around the corner. Trial's coming up April 15th, less than 3 weeks from now. Going to be starting with jury selection. And this feels like it's a firm trial date. Not looking like this is going to be moving, because if they start moving this thing, well, then it gets a little too close to the election deadlines, and they need to have 6 weeks for this trial to be done. And so we're going to see what's happening. But today we are watching Judge Juan, who is locking the case down. We have two motions that are going to be clamping this thing and making sure that Trump can't talk about it and that the public has a difficult time seeing what's going on. So let's talk about the first one. Trump gets gagged again. Remember that Judge Chutkan already gagged him in the January 6th DC case, and that has now been something that's been permeated all over the place. Angeron Areola, aka the Nip, he also gagged Trump, and now Judge Juan is also gagging Trump. And it's interesting because this morning Trump was on one, man. He was firing off true socials at 6:42 in the morning. You see this one, boom, just dropping it out there, going after Judge Juan. And so Judge Juan gets the wrath of Trump in three different truths that we'll read through. And then suddenly, lo and behold, this afternoon, guess what drops out of Juan's courtroom? Just dumps it right out of there. Was an order from Judge Juan is saying, you're gagged, buddy boy. You can't talk about this, that, and the other thing because trial is just 3 weeks away. And they don't want Trump to be talking about, witnesses, maybe like Michael Cohen, who's a liar, who another federal judge just confirmed lied again in another courtroom that was being conducted by Angeron and Tisch. So he comes out now is gagging Trump. We're going to read through that filing, see what is inside, and then, of course, remind ourselves that the trial's coming up very soon, and it's looking like it's not going to be televised. So unless that changes, we're going to be reading through the X scripts here, courtesy of whoever is awesome in covering it in the courtroom on that day. And today, we also had another order from Judge Juan. He is now saying that even the public can't have access to all of the court records. Isn't that nice? So Trump can't talk about it, and the public can't look at it because they don't want us to see what the heck's going on. Quite frankly, they'd love for all of this to be done under the dark of night. The fact that they have to report any of it's very irritating. If they could just summarily prosecute Trump and then give him the execution death penalty, well, they'd probably do it, and none of us would be the wiser if they could get away with it. But that is not happening here. So Judge Juan Mercan is responding to a Trump defense motion, and Trump's defense, Todd Blanche and the amazing team over there representing Trump, they have asked the judge to unseal the docket, right? There's a big fat docket there in New York that all of us here want to get our little grubby little fingers on. Give me that docket right now so that we can see what's inside and unpack that and have a little bite of it. But unfortunately, a lot of it is sealed. We can't see any of it. And so I have been poking around forever trying to go to the New York website, and there's like one page there where they have like 11 documents for the whole case. I'm like, wow, you got 11 documents. This case is from like 2016. You have 11 documents in this whole filing. Give me a break. So Trump's team sent a request into the judge. Can we please unseal this? There's emails going back and forth between you and the defense and you and Alvin, and we need to see what is going on. Can you please post it on the public docket so, America can see what you people are doing here, given the fact that you're prosecuting the leading contender for the presidency? We'd like to see what you're doing. So Trump's defense submitted that, and guess what Judge Juan said? Denied. You're not getting any access to it. He says it's public enough. People can come in here and, report on what's happening in my courtroom. And so we don't really, it's public enough. Thanks for playing. So nothing from there. As I mentioned, I took a screenshot of this today because this is their public access website. Okay. You want to go get information about the Trump docket, huh? Well, go right here. We put them all on the internet. What? There's like 11 documents here. Okay. That's the whole case. Thanks, guys. Thanks, state of New York. You're doing a bang up job. It should be like, I don't know, 1,000 at this point. So that's sufficient, they say. We've done enough here, public, you little peasants. Here, have a couple documents, losers, and we'll keep it updated as we see fit. So Trump was asking for more access. Juan Mercan said, no, you don't get it. We have enough. Go check the website. So we'll hear from him. We also got Michael Cohen, who is one of the dumbest people on this planet, who is still out there talking with MSNBC's #1 show. You know what it is. And we also got Alina Habba in the house, and she is on one, man. She is fired up. She says, oh, how'd you like that bond reduction there, big Tish? She's eating her tweets one by one. And so Alina is just indulging. As she should. Tremendous victory. Shout out to Alina Habba in the house. So as you can see, we got 2 segments to get to. We got a couple filings inside each of those segments. And so we're grateful you are here and joining us today. This morning, we do live streams in the morning here before we even sit down for the show. And we had a great live stream this morning. We were talking about the bridge that fell down in Baltimore and, prayers for all the people who were there and affected by that. What an absolute tragedy that was. So we talked about that, shared some updates on what's going on. It's kind of a breaking news thing. And that's what we do over there. We see how the mornings are, how the day is unfolding. We take a look at other stuff that we can't get into here, like what Joe Biden's doing, right? And what our Congress is doing and what all these other knuckleheads out there are up to. And so we'd love to have you. We do streams in the morning. We do Saturday shows. And we also do after parties. So as soon as we're done here on the live stream platforms, we retire over to Locals and have ourselves a little bit of a debrief on the day's show. So come and join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And when you sign up, you're supporting our work here. We couldn't do it without you. So thanks for being a membo. We also have robertgovea.com. We have our calendar now, which is available. So this week is going to be a little bit wonky. We're going to have a little bit of a later show Thursday, Friday. If you want to check any of that out, we're keeping it updated on the calendar. And you can just go right there and just see what the calendar looks like. And in fact, this is even a little bit wrong because Thursday, we're going to have an earlier show, I think, because we've got the McAfee hearing out over there in Georgia. So you can add this if you want to just follow along on the calendar. You can add this. And we got, like, for example, we have the motions hearing that we had on the calendar. We've got the Supreme Court hearing. The motion deadlines are all here, and the showtime. So member show and otherwise on there, robertgovea.com. And all the PDFs that we're about to go through here today, they're also going to be published up there with the red lines included. So you can access those and download those at your leisure. We also have watcherlodge.com, which is where we have our sovereignty and our self-development community under construction, but we have some very cool stuff that is already up, including the Living with Meaning and Purpose workshop, which was put on by my mama, and she's amazing. So go check that out, watcherlodge.com, all free over there as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention, YouTube enabled our shopping tab. And so these shirts are now linked up on YouTube on the shopping tab. Of course, I get these from Nordstrom's, and they're very nice. I like them very much. This is a size medium. It's very good, kind of light, very nice fabric. The collars stay even after, a bunch of washes, because I like to buy a new shirt like once every decade or so. But if you'd like to buy shirts and it's the summertime, check out the shopping tab, which is there on YouTube, and go to Nordstrom's. And ladies too, get a bunch of stuff over there. Just, click our link and then load up your cart with everything you ever wanted, because you deserve it. All right. So all that is the introduction, my friends. Now, without any further ado, let's get in to the meat and potatoes on the day. Hey, thank you, Jennifer. Says Rob's workshops are really informative. Well, thank you. That's what we're trying to do. And we're leveling it up, man. I was working on a PowerPoint today. Woo! I'm pretty excited about it. All right. So let's get to it. The judge in New York gags Trump right as trial is around the corner. And this is not a surprise. Juan Mercan, the judge in Alvin Bragg's prosecution for the so-called hush money. In this case, it's the Bragg prosecution on fake made-up documents that we're trying to figure out how they're criminal. Still to be seen, because Alvin hasn't actually told us what his theory of the case is. He says, I'll wait for trial to do that. So we are gearing up for trial. The trial has already been continued once. It was supposed to take place on March 25th. That has not happened, so it got rescheduled for April 15th. We're going to be covering that here, of course, in depth. But as we inch closer and closer to this trial date, as they are racing to get Trump convicted before the election, we now have a gag order. So Trump can't speak about certain things, which is a big problem, because one of the people who was a star witness in this case is Michael Cohen, who is a convicted perjurer, convicted for lying to Congress, convicted for tax charges, campaign charges, all sorts of misreporting charges, right? The guy's just a mess. And a federal judge has said he's convicted perjurer. He's likely committed perjury again very recently in another trial in New York. That was the Letitia James trial, where she had her shoes off, walking around with her stinky feet. And he was the lying witness there, and Alvin Bragg's bringing him back to this case. Okay, so can Trump talk about any of that? Can he comment on any of this sham, partisan, ridiculous case that was rejected by the DOJ, was basically rejected by Alvin Bragg some time ago until it got resurrected as the zombie case, because the other three prosecutions are all failing. So this is the only thing they have left, right? Break glass in case of emergency. So here was Trump this morning, and some might be asking if this prompted the gag order or not, because Trump was dropping this one bright and early at 6:42 in the morning. Trump says, "Good morning, America. I have something to say." Posted on Truth to 13,000 likes, says, Judge Juan Mercan, a very distinguished looking man, is nevertheless a true and certified Trump hater who suffers from a very serious case of Trump derangement syndrome. In other words, he hates me. His daughter is a senior executive at a super liberal Democrat firm that works for Adam Shifty Schiff, the guy who got censured for lying to America when he was on the Intelligence Committee. Loser. Censured. What a loser. So pathetic. Also, the Democratic National Committee. So she works, the judge's daughter, which I'm sure is going to be the subject of this gag order coming up here in a minute now. So Trump will not be able to say this again. So let's say it loudly and clearly, okay, so all can hear. And if you know anybody who hasn't heard this message, you might want to let them know that Trump is not saying this, but I'm saying this, and we're just recovering, the message. So Trump says the judge's daughter is a senior executive at a super liberal Democrat firm that works for the censured Adam Schiff and the DNC and the Democrat Senate Majority PAC and even crooked Joe Biden. He was recently the judge on an unrelated trial of a long-term employee, elderly and not in good health. And this judge treated him viciously, telling him either you cooperate or I'm putting you in jail for 15 years. Now, he pled, that other person, went to jail for a very minor offense, highly unusual, served 4 months in Rikers, and now they are after him again. This time for allegedly doesn't look like a lie to me, and they threaten him again with 15 years if he doesn't say something bad about Trump. He is devastated and scared. These country-destroying scoundrels, says Trump, and thugs have no case against me. Witch hunt. So who are they talking about here? Unrelated trial of a long-term employee, elderly and not in good health. Not sure who that might be, whether we have heard the name of that person. But they're trying to find people in Trump's outer circle or inner circle or any connection to Trump at all that they can use to beat him over the head. These country-destroying scoundrels. Okay, that's 6:42 in the morning. Trump drops this one next. He says, all right, DA Bragg, again, we're in New York, working in close coordination with crooked Joe Biden and his campaign, has no case against me. He admitted as much when he first took office. In fact, he was furious that they were even pursuing such a ridiculous case where there's no crime. All others in law enforcement had taken a pass on this. DOJ, right? Everyone else investigated, no crime. The DOJ has a bunch of records on this case. They just dropped it all on Alvin Bragg's desk, right, with a big wheelbarrow. Here you go, Alvin. What? Where'd that come from? This case is, from 2016. It's a Stormy Daniels payoff, so-called. Ridiculous case. There is no crime. All others in law enforcement had taken a pass, where reliance on a convicted liar and felon, Michael Cohen, is necessary. He's the key witness. He is the hub of the whole thing, like he was in Tish's case. And where a dirtbag lawyer named Mark Pomerantz did things that were really bad. And we've talked all about that a long time ago, right, when this case was first making its way through. But if only they could get Judge Juan Mercan, and they did, just like they did for other cases. Weird, right? Strange how these anomalous case assignments get made. A new criminal case gets filed, and perfect. It goes to the worst Trump-hating judge that America knows, Judge Chutkan. Boom! Here's another one, right? In jurisdictions they control, or they've got, a lot of leverage, goes in New York. Guess where it goes? Judge Juan Mercan. Not a fan of Trump. Here you go, have the case. They didn't luck out so well in Florida, did they? Now, all others in law, and same thing, right? Pick all the other cases. Judge Kaplan in New York, where Roberta Kaplan brought her case with Judge Kaplan. We also have the Angeron Areola, aka the Nip, who's also the worst possible human because he doesn't know anything about the law and he hates Trump. So it's a terrible person for Trump to have as a judge. Then they forum shop. They pick different locations where they can bring these claims, like in Colorado, where there's like 7 Democrats who are all appointed to the Supreme Court. I wonder how they're going to vote. And they voted in an insane opinion to remove Trump, and then got overturned 9-0. Okay, that's what these people are. That's where they are. They're all just being, politically, moved around like chess pieces on a map, on a board. So he talks about Mark Pomerantz, but only if they could get Judge. Now, Judge Juan Mercan, they got him. Now, they did, just like they did for other cases. Now, so much for a random choice, says Trump. Judge Mercan should recuse himself. He cannot give me a fair trial. And likewise, for the sake of fairness, this, quote, political opponent trial should take place in Staten Island with a new and unbiased judge. The trial should not be allowed to start in the middle of my campaign for president. They could have filed more than 3 years ago. They waited. This is another witch hunt for the purposes of election interference, obviously. That's why there are 4 simultaneous criminal cases all happening, one right after another. They're literally trying to jockey the trial dates in with one another. There's not enough time in the year. Which one can go first and second and third? Right? They stacked them all up here for a reason. They prosecute. The Oath Keepers have already been done and sentenced. Much more complicated case there. The Proud Boys, same thing there, right? They know how to prosecute cases when they want to move them quickly. They wait all the way until the indictment, and then they file the indictment, and then they have to race when Trump doesn't have time to respond. They're disgusting. It's unfair because they're cheaters. Here's Trump's final post before we get into the gag. So Judge wakes up. He's seeing this one. He goes, Trump says, DA Bragg fought everyone about trying this no crime case, but crooked Joe Biden's thugs pushed him around to go forward anyways, and they pushed him hard, just like we heard they did with Big Fanny. They wanted him to go after me, Joe's crooked's political opponent. He just didn't want to do it, though. So they ended up sending Matthew Colangelo, who's this guy, Merrick Garland's right hand, says Trump, after a stop at the corrupt and racist New York State Letitia Peekaboo James's office, who takes her shoes off in the courtroom, stinking up the entire building, to directly oversee the DA, perhaps to make sure that Bragg followed their illegal orders and their commands. Now, he eventually agreed to do that case that he never wanted to do. Pomerantz and Cohen were death, right? It's an insane case to bring a literal convicted perjurer who a federal judge said just lied again in the last trial, or else lied to a federal court when he took his plea deal. Now their hope is that Judge Juan Mercan, who should be recused, will pull them through. Trump says, stop the steal. Yeah, accurate. It's like happening right now, right? So we're going to wake up and, if something goes wrong with the election, which we're hoping that it's too big to rig, every single one of us is going to call every person we've ever known, met, and loved in our entire lives and drag them to the polls. Are you voting for Trump? Get your butt down there. and make it happen this year, right? We're not playing around this time. So that's going to be part of it. But if something goes off, right, something goes wrong, Trump lost fair and square. You people are just being ridiculous insurrectionists again. What? You guys launched the entire arsenal of the U.S. government against Trump in 2024. Are you nuts? It's being rigged right now. Trump doesn't, think about even just the money. How much money does Trump have to come out of pocket that could be used to campaigning, traveling, hiring staff, pushed back into marketing, whatever, that has to go to his legal defense? And the legal defense is defending against a case that is being prosecuted by the government, which has a limitless amount of money and a bunch of psychopaths with unlimited power. So it's a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 10-to-1, right? Ask some attorneys. The number could be 10-to-1, could be 100-to-1, right? Depending on how much money you want to spend. But there's no upper limit. So it's all election interference that's happening right now. And they could have avoided that. They could have charged him in 2023. They could have charged him in 2021. They charged a bunch of people. This is not that complicated of a case. It's like 5 charges in many of these incidents. This one was a Stormy Daniels case from 2016. So they could have charged this one a long time ago. But all right, I digress. Now, enough out of me. Let's get to the order from the judge. Judge Juan Mercan submitted this gag order, and here's what it says. In the Supreme Court of the state of New York, which is the lower level court, they have things backwards there in their courts like many other decisions they make. This is the decision in order from Judge Juan Mercan, who is presiding over the Alvin Bragg prosecution, which is scheduled for trial on April 15th. Now, Trump has been communicating his position on the legitimacy of this prosecution, and the judge is not happy about it, so has issued a gag order. Here's what the judge says. Juan writes the following. All right, Trump has been charged with 34 counts of falsifying a business record, okay? False business records. And remember this case, it's ridiculous. It's like an invoice, a check, and a receipt. It's like that, right? Okay, charge 1, charge 2, charge 3, times, 12 months in a year. They skipped a month, whatever. So boom, that's 34 counts, whatever it is, right? It's like literally like that. So Cohen sends an invoice, somebody writes a check, it makes an accounting record on the docket, falsifying. Trump did all the things, right? Trump sent an invoice, wrote a check, and then entered a bad ledger, times 34. So that's it. Every month, because Cohen was paid on a monthly retainer, 35 grand a month, give or take, and he was doing a bunch of stuff with the money. So 34 counts. Again, we're trying to know why that's a felony and why that this amounts to a felony, and we're waiting to see how the statute of limitations is already not told when this case gets underway. So we'll keep our eyes out for that. But here's the judge. Now, the charges arise from allegations that Trump attempted to conceal an illegal scheme to influence the 2016 presidential election. Now, specifically, Bragg and the government, they claim that Trump directed an attorney who worked for his company to pay $130K to Stormy to prevent her from publicizing an encounter with Trump. Now, it's further alleged that Trump thereafter reimbursed the attorney, that's Cohen, for payments through a series of checks and caused business records associated with the repayments to be falsified in order to conceal his criminal conduct. Now, trial on this matter is scheduled to commence on April 15th. And so the question is, well, wait a minute, what are those payments? Were those payments that are like, campaign payments that the DOJ might be interested in, that the Federal Election Committee, the FEC might be interested in, or that they might bring criminal charges against Trump? No, they looked into it. No charges. This is old. 2016. What are we still doing with this, guys? So they looked into it. No charges. They had a bunch of different prosecutors in Manhattan kick this around for a long time, Sirens Vance and the rest of them, and nobody brought it. Then they wrote a book about it, whining about this. Alvin Bragg got a lot of pushback, and so now he's bringing it. But the point is, right, like these types of transactions are done all the time, right? People enter into non-disclosure agreements. You might have some moral qualms with that, but that's the practice in New York. And they're saying that Trump basically just miscategorized these things. So let's see. Now, on February 22nd, Alvin filed the instant motion. Now, Alvin was asking for an order that restricts Donald Trump's extrajudicial statements for the duration of the trial. Put a gag on him. Now, the restrictions sought are in part consistent with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the other case in the Trump world where he's also gagged. So remember, Trump was gagged in the Chutkan case, And I believe that's the case they're referencing that was up on appeal about how far the gag can go. Now, on March 4th, Trump filed a response in opposition. So Bragg, oh, great. Bragg says gag. Alvin Bragg, the gagger, all right. So he's here arguing that his speech may be only restricted, Trump responds, may only be restricted by the application of a more strenuous standard than was applied by the DC Circuit, and that Bragg, who wants the gag, has failed to meet the standard in that case. Or maybe that's the Engeron case. Well, that's out of the DC Circuit, so that's got to be the New York case. I'm sorry, the Chutkan case. So anyways, here's the judge, right? So that's the background. Other courts have already gagged Trump, and remember, there's that domino effect that's going on, where one judge does it, and then the other judge say, well, they did it. They had to do it in their case. And it's kind of performative, right? So as long as one person can make an argument for it first, then they just parlay on the back of the prior argument. And they say, well, there was apparently a witness who got scared in that first case. And so that witness being scared means that we have to gag Trump so that another witness doesn't potentially become scared in our case. And we're like, what witness? Engeron's a whack job. All right. Now here's the discussion. Judge Juan writes, the freedom of speech that's guaranteed by the First Amendment and the state's interest of fair administration are implicated by the relief sought. So he's a balancing test. Here he writes it. The balancing of these interests must come with the highest of scrutiny. So your First Amendment rights versus the government's and the court's rights to maintain a decorum in the courtroom without Trump blasting off on truth. Saying, here's a quote from a U.S. Supreme Court case, 1978, tells us, properly applied, the test of balancing all this requires a court to make its own inquiry into the imminence and the magnitude of the danger said to flow from the particular utterance. So what is the speech saying? What's the danger? What's the imminence? And then balance the character of the evil as well as the likelihood against the need for free and unfettered expression. All right, so like we're balancing a bunch of stuff, right? Just put it on a scale. Okay, how much free speech do you really need here? What's the character of the harm from that free speech? We're going to weigh it against the right, that you have to speak freely. But the court has an obligation to prevent outside influences, including extrajudicial speech, from disturbing the integrity of a trial. Interesting. So he's going to gag Trump, and we're going to see if he's going to gag everyone else. Like, is Michael Cohen going to still be invited back on with Jen Psaki to do their little patty cake game? With the standards set forth in Landmark, this court has reviewed the record of prior extrajudicial statements attributed to Trump. Okay? So they're going back to the other courts. Oh, yeah, Chutkan said Trump was a menace when he was there. And Engeron said Trump was a menace when he was there. And Kaplan, Judge Kaplan, I think, on the E. Jean Carroll case, did they gag him there? So we're adding all of those prior statements that we can attribute to Trump. Now, notably, the Judge Juan, he writes, Trump does not deny the utterance of any of those extrajudicial statements or the reported effect those statements had on the targeted parties. Rather, they say, Trump says in response, that as the presumptive nominee, quote, and the leading candidate in 2024, that he must have, Trump saying, unfettered access to the voting public, and he must be able to respond to attacks from his political opponents, and he must be able to criticize these public figures who are waging this partisan prosecution against him. The judge writes, yet these extrajudicial statements, though, from Trump, they went far beyond defending himself from the attacks by public figures. His statements, says this judge, were threatening, they were inflammatory, and they were denigrating. And the targets of his statements, they ranged from local and federal officials, courts and court staff, prosecutors and staff assigned to those cases, and to private individuals, including grand jurors who were just performing their civic duty. Trump's blasting all these people, and the judge is not, he's saying you don't have the right to have that free speech. And I don't know who he's talking about specifically, but he continues. Now, the consequence of those statements, here's what we've done, include not only creating fear on the part of the individuals targeted, but also the assignment of increased security resources, I guess for maybe big fanning, to investigate threats and to protect the individuals and the family members thereof. Saying such inflammatory extrajudicial statements undoubtedly risk impeding the orderly administration of this court. Saying Trump is too dangerous to speak freely. Look at all this damage he's caused from one truth. Trump does pack a lot into one single truth. It's pretty amazing. The concentration of jabs per truth is very high concentration. If you put it under a microscope, there'd be a lot of, Tish and Fanny consequences in there. So the judge continues now. Trump contends that the continued compliance with the existing court orders, referencing both the admonition at the start of the proceeding and the recent protective order, the judge says, that we talked about with juror anonymity, is an effective and least restrictive alternative because Trump is such a monster, we can gag him. Now, Trump supports this position. Trump is making the argument that you don't need the protective order. Everything that you've already issued currently is fine. We don't need it to go any further. Trump is supporting that by noting that he has generally refrained from making extrajudicial statements about individuals associated with this case, which is different as in other cases. And that's in contrast to other statements targeting other people in other court proceedings, right? So Trump is saying, no, I haven't done it in this case, though. I've only done it in the other cases. And so since I haven't done it here, you can't gag me for anything I've done here. You've already given us the admonition at the start of this trial, at the start of these proceedings. And so that's sufficient. You don't need to add in additional limitations on my speech. So Juan comes out, he says, this court is unpersuaded. Now, although this court did not issue an order restricting Trump's speech at the inception of this case, choosing instead to give an admonition, given the nature and the impact of the statements made against this court and a family member thereof, the judge read the tweet, The Truth, this morning, and a family member talking about the judge's Democrat daughter, who apparently works for censured Adam Schiff in the DNC, the DA, Alvin Bragg, and the assistant DA, the witnesses in this case, liar Michael Cohen, as well as the nature and the impact of the extrajudicial statements made by Trump in the D.C. Circuit case, which resulted in the D.C. Circuit, also corrupt, issued an order restricting his speech. And given that, this is the judge, given that the eve of trial is upon us, it is without question that the imminency of the risk of harm is now paramount. Now we're all going to die. The Supreme Court, in another case called Nebraska, they held that the court has the obligation to prevent actual harm to the integrity of the proceedings. So does that mean Michael Cohen's going to be gagged too? Is Tish going to be gagged so that she doesn't have an opportunity to talk about Trump in any way? I mean, she's obviously stopped tweeting because she lost the bond battle. But here, judge continues, says, when the fairness of the trial is threatened by Trump's true social posts, reversals are but palliatives. The cure lies in those remedial remedies that will prevent the prejudice at the beginning. So in other words, don't let this get reversed on appeal. Fix it before it goes bad, right? Don't let someone run their mouths and some witness get in trouble or whatever. So you got to, have a trial again or something and, eliminate the mistrial, whatever the misconduct was, correct that and do it again. He said, just fix it now. Now, on the record submitted and in keeping with its mandate, Juan Mercan says, this judge does not need to wait for the realization of further proscribed speech targeted at the participants in this trial. Footnote 1 says, Trump argues that the references to speech targeted at individual prosecutors in this instant case did not substantiate their claims, saying that the people only cite posts which occurred in March and June. Notably, within hours of the court appearance on March 25th, setting the trial date for April 15th, Trump targeted an individual prosecutor assigned to this case. Okay, so what? Referring to him as a radical left from the DOJ, put into the DA's office to run the trial against Trump that was done by Biden and his thugs. Yeah, true, all true. So Trump, I guess, can't say that because he's talking about Matthew Colangelo, who got thrown over from Biden from the DOJ to go handle this, right? Go bring the charges. So that's from a video. So Trump, I guess, he can't talk about that, right? That's illegal now. Let's see what he says. Now, Alvin Bragg proposes additional restrictions on his speech so that we can't see all this corruption and the politicization of this with our own eyes. We can't see it. With respect to prospective and sworn jurors. Now, the restrictions sought are an extension of the other protective order, and while the DC Circuit addressed only the risk of influencing witnesses and intimidating or harassing other trial participants, in accordance with the lower court ruling, it nevertheless opined, again, so they're going from the DC Circuit. They said one of the most powerful interests supporting broad prohibitions on trial participants' speech is to avoid contamination of the jury pool. That's weird, because Cohen is on with Jen Psaki like once a week. To protect the impartiality of the jury once selected and to confine the evidentiary record before the jury to the courtroom and to stop the intrusion into the jury's deliberations. From the Trump case. Now, while the protective order here, says Juan, related to juror anonymity prevents the dissemination of personal information, is not sufficient to prevent extrajudicial speech outside the courtroom, stuff that Trump might say, that targets jurors, and to expose them to whatever this means, an atmosphere of intimidation. So the proposed restrictions that by Bragg are narrowly tailored to obtain that result. So Juan finishes, he says, the uncontested record reflects that Trump and his prior extrajudicial statements establish that there is a sufficient risk to the administration of justice, consistent with the law. And there's nothing else we can do to address this risk other than gagging him. And so therefore, it is hereby ordered that Alvin Bragg's motion to restrict Trump and his extrajudicial statements is hereby granted, and Trump is gagged from the following. Trump cannot make or direct others to make public statements. So he's not directing us to do anything. We're just going to call all these people partisan hacks indefinitely. We're going to call them hacks even harder now. All right, Colangelo, that's right, buddy boy. We're going to call you a partisan hack with even more energy now. Because Trump can't say it, we're going to double down on it here. You too, Alvin, and you too, Judge Daughter, loser, DNC hack. So they are not allowed to direct or make other public statements about him, but we'll do it. To or reasonably foreseeable witnesses concerning their potential participation in the investigation or in this criminal proceeding. So no public statements about witnesses. So Michael Cohen, for example. So that lying perjurer who's got multiple criminal convictions for being a piece of garbage. Trump can't say that, but we can. Making or directing others. So again, we're under no direction here from Trump, at all. But I mean, if his people want to reach out and say what's up, they're free to do that. I know that VP slot's open. Okay, making or directing others to make public statements about the counsel in this case, other than Alvin, the DA. So you can talk about Alvin, but not, I guess, Colangelo, right? So one DA you get to talk about, but not anyone else. You can't talk about the member of the court staff or the DA's staff or family members like this judge's DNC daughter or any staff member if those statements are made with the intent to materially interfere with counsel's work in this case or with knowledge that the interference is likely to result in that. What does that even mean? What if you just want to talk about it because you want to call attention to the partisan family that is behind the prosecution of their political enemies? How's that? Judge might say that's going to materially interfere with the case. And also, you can't make or direct others to make public statements about any prospective juror or any juror in this criminal proceeding. And that you normally say is fair, right? That's fair game, unless you get a juror like we had in the Chauvin trial, who was literally attending the George Floyd protests, even though he was sitting on the jury judging Derek Chauvin. So, all right. So the foregoing now constitutes the decision and order of the court. It is, as it always is, cowardly of these judges and these prosecutors to make these requests. Now, of course, you don't want anybody to be threatened or harmed, and all of that is already illegal, right? It's already illegal to threaten people and to harass people, and people get prosecuted for that all the time. And so there are mechanisms for that, right? You don't also need to gag Trump. If Trump makes a statement about this judge's hack DNC daughter, who apparently, according to Trump, here, let's just pull that up again, just real quickly, because apparently the judge's daughter, just to confirm this, I mean, it's right here on the screen, says, daughter is a senior executive at a super liberal firm. So maybe Trump just wants to talk about this judge's hack daughter because she's a partisan and not to derail not to interfere with the administration of justice, not to cause, any material deviation of the trial, but just to point out that like father, like daughter, you know what I mean? So maybe there is some question about whether this judge is fair and unbiased. Of course, we know that he is not. So that is just one part of what is happening. There is more happening, of course. Judge is also going to be sealing some records. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But don't forget to subscribe, my friends, because this trial is happening very soon, and it feels like this one is going to go. Like they are digging their heels in to make sure they can get at least this one trial done before the election starts. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for liking this video. Thanks for inviting a friend or family member to come on over here and join us as we cover what's really happening in all of these litigations, all of these Trump trials. And so we'll look forward to seeing you back here. Don't forget to check out some of the links in the description below. RobertGouveia.com is where you can go if you want to read any of the PDFs that we cover here. We also have our calendar, which is where we keep the show schedule organized, and we add all of the other Trump trial dates and motion deadlines and other oral argument proceedings that are happening, including what's happening in Georgia, Florida, Supreme Court, and elsewhere. So check it out. We'll see you over there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Now, we're not done yet. We got another segment to attend to, and this is kind of the other half of what has dropped, and involves the same judge, also in New York. And this one is very irritating. We're going to take a look at Trump's filing before we see what the judge says. Judge Juan Merchan is now making access to the Trump prosecution in New York brought by Alvin Bragg a little bit more difficult than it should be. For some time here, your document sleuths have been trying to unpack what is going on in New York because there have been a bunch of filings that have landed on Judge Merchan's desk. The government has been responding to it. There's been apparently emails back and forth, but conveniently, none of it is ending up on the docket. We can't find out what's going on there. Why is that? Well, they don't want us to see what's inside. And now Trump's team submitted a request to unseal the docket, right? We're not expecting cameras to be in this courtroom when the trial that's scheduled for just a few short weeks from now occurs. So we're going to have visual reports. Could we at least see the docket? Could we see some of the exhibits that are being submitted? Can we get access to this material? Judge Juan Merchan says no, and his reasoning is ridiculous. But this is what Donald Trump's defense said. Sending this in to the Honorable Juan Merchan. This is coming from Blanche Law. And they originally sent this filing back on March 10th. The judge just issued his ruling in response. And remember, the judge got very ornery. He was very irritated that Trump was filing motions on the public docket. We could all read them. He says, don't you file those. You should file pre-motions before you submit the actual motion. And in a pre-motion, tell us what the motion is. Because he doesn't want us to see what's actually in the filing, right? The judge is trying to cover up some of the requests because the last one was a banger. They dropped that last one. So here, Trump's defense, Todd Blanche, Susan Nichols, they sent this in. Hey, Judge Merchan, we know trial's scheduled pretty soon. So we are asking you to unseal all of the pleadings, the orders, unseal all of the written communications that have involved all of this case. The court, the parties, including communications sent by letter and by email, and give access to the public to all future pleadings, all orders, all written communications so that we can see them, please. Which is a point we've been making here for years now. Okay, if the evidence is so dang good that Trump's an insurrectionist and a criminal, as they're alleging in this case, why can't we just see the evidence? It's not complicated. creates a government official. His team is like okay with it, right? They have access requests from them. Post it publicly. We've had many different orders and requests like this from the Trump defense. Let everyone see it. They don't want to see it. It's like the Count of Monte Cristo. They'd rather just throw Edmond Dantes in the gulags. So Trump's team submitted this as an exhibit. They say, hey, Judge, if you give us permission to file this motion, this is what we're going to file. So they were very sneaky. Now, this is pretty fun. So Trump's defense basically was told, don't submit docket, don't submit your motions on the public docket, okay? Submit a permission slip in a pre-motion, bizarro land, Judge Mercon, whatever. Submit a pre-motion, get permission, tell me a little bit about what you're going to file, and then I'll let you know. Because he didn't want the big drops to come on the docket, like Michael Cohen's a liar and all the things that Trump's team is alleging. So Trump's team did that. They submitted the permission slip, and then they said in the permission slip, oh, by the way, here's the motion that we'll submit if you give us permission to submit it. Get it? So in other words, they submitted it anyways. Yeah, okay, yeah, here's our permission, stupid motion, dumb judge. But here's the actual motion we would file. So if you grant it, here it is. It's right there, convenient for you. And the whole thing shows up on the public docket, so we get to see it anyways. All right, it's nice. See how clever? So the judge's not very happy about that. Now he says, this is Trump's defense. All right, saying, hey, Judge, by the way, here would be our motion if you would allow us. We have a request to unseal all the docket proceedings, all the pleadings, all the orders, all the communications, everything that is in the file, and here's why. Todd Blanche says, I am submitting this as an affirmation. I represent Trump, and I believe that this is a true and accurate copy of everything. So here's what he says. This is a motion by President Trump for public proceedings. Now, this is not actually being ruled on by the judge at the moment. It's attached as an exhibit, but the judge is going to rule on it anyways. So he says, all right, here we are, Your Honor. Now, President Trump respectfully submits this motion for unsealing and for public access to all the documents in this case, including your emails, Judge, that you've been sending to us and to the government. We also want simultaneous public access of all future pleadings, orders, and written communications. If Trump's such a guilty person, just unseal everything, right? I mean, come on. Liz Cheney, same goes to you. Why'd you have to delete anything? Just put it all on the internet. It's a public investigation, isn't it? Now, such access is required by the state and federal constitution, so we can see this. It's necessary to create a record that will permit any subsequent appellate review, and critically important in light of this court's rulings, right? This is President Trump. Trump is alleging prosecutorial misconduct, and he's raising these issues based on recent developments. So here's the background. Why do we want public access? Why are they trying to hide everything from us? Throughout this case, Trump's defense says the court has communicated with the parties via emails and via letters, and those emails contain substantive rulings in those emails, but they do not appear to be on the docket. Or otherwise available to the public. I know, I've been looking for a long time for them. Or to the parties as necessary for an appellate record. The court has also permitted delayed public filing of motion papers well past the time that they're submitted to the court via email. In the latest example, and it's just one of them, in an email sent at 9:17 p.m. back on March 8th, Your Honor, you ruled in an email, you said, that President Trump's March 8th motion for discovery sanctions was not accepted at this time. What on earth? Judge is just ruling via email. It's like, okay, that's fine, but put it on the docket so we can see it. It's like a formal, thing that happened in the court. Okay. Order defense counsel not to file a motion unless until this court expressly authorizes you to do so. What? So this is the Engeron saga all over again. Okay, remember Engeron said, don't make your objection. Don't you say it. Don't do it, Chris. Remember? And Chris is like, Judge, I'm a lawyer in court. I have to speak. I have to make an objection. Don't do it, Chris. And then he moved those cameras around because people thought he was playing footsie with his clerk, Allison. Remember that? Before he, went and worked on his pecs. So it's the same thing. Don't do it, Chris. Okay, this is the judge saying, don't do it, Chris. Don't file a motion unless I authorize you to file a motion. You say, what? We're lawyers. That's our job. And directed that nothing should be filed with the court, whether it's redacted or otherwise. Okay, now this is all happening in email. And the reason why the judge doesn't want this to happen, right? Don't file anything. Why? Because he doesn't want you to see what's inside of it, which is why he made them file the pre-motion, and they're basically ignoring the pre-motion and just attaching the background motion anyways, which is amazing. Love that. So don't do anything. Don't do it, Chris. It's insane. They don't want us to see what's happening. That's what it comes down to. So they say, look, the First Amendment applies. Okay, Judge, remember that. Read the Constitution. We always have to be able to see what's going on. We have a right to speak. We also have the Sixth Amendment public right to trial, saying this: the public trial guarantee was created for the benefit of the defense. This and other Sixth Amendment rights are for the defense. There can be little doubt that the explicit Sixth Amendment right of the accused is no less protective of a public trial than the First Amendment right of access of the press and the public, right? So through the First Amendment, the public has a right to access. Through the Sixth Amendment, the defendant has a right to be seen. Hey, look what they're doing to me, man. The central aim of a criminal proceeding must be to try the accused fairly. Unless you're Trump, then no one cares. The reason for that right is that to the framers, secret trials obviously symbolized a menace to our liberty. Right. And the public trial right is provided as a necessary safeguard to attempt to employ our courts as an instrument of persecution. But were there cameras in Engoron's courtroom? No, there weren't. Were there cameras in Judge Kaplan's courtroom? No, there wasn't, which is a federal court. How about Tish's courtroom, which was Engoron? Nothing was going on. In the federal courts, there's a pretty strict prohibition on that. But why didn't the state courts allow it? How come no trial proceedings or pretrial proceedings have been observable in the Bragg prosecution? Engoron clearly had cameras outside of his courtroom because he was posing for them every time they came in, and then he kicked them out because they don't want you to see what they're doing. And our founders warned about this. And while, of course, the vast majority of judges and jurors would strive to uphold these, we can't be sure, which is why we need a public trial so that we can observe and watch it. Now, common law also says that there is a right of access to these materials. New York has recognized a common law right of access to court records. And they say that court papers are public records. This is Trump's defense writing. They say, with all that case law out of the way, they say court records are public records. As a result, formal and publicly filed communications between the parties and the court are a requirement steeped in Trump's right to a public trial, the First Amendment right of access that belongs to the press and the public, and the related common law framework. Saying at the April 4th, 2023, almost a year ago, press conference that was related to the indictment, Alvin Bragg promised the public. Alvin came out and he said, this case would be litigated in a public courtroom in downtown Manhattan. That's what Alvin said. At President Trump's arraignment on the same day, the court acknowledged that First Amendment rights are critically important, obviously. The court said that. And at the May 4th, 2023 conference, Your Honor, you, Judge Juan Mercan, you yourself called attention to a perceived obligation on the part of the DA Bragg to, quote, explain to the public what he was doing. It's good for the public to see it. But since that time, however, something strange has happened. The public, that's us, has been shielded from important communications and rulings bearing on the conduct of this case. Transparency, they are quoting a Second Circuit case, is pivotal to public perception of the judiciary's legitimacy and independence. Quoting, they say, courts must impede scrutiny of the exercise of that judgment only in the rarest of circumstances. Okay, so when courts are making judgments, you do not limit the scrutiny of how those judgments are being made. We should have a microscope zoomed in on this stuff, which is what we do here. Shine a spotlight down upon it, baby. Now, this is especially so when a judicial decision accedes to the request of a coordinate branch, lest ignorance of the basis for the decision cause the public to doubt that complete independence of the courts of justice, which is peculiarly essential in a limited constitution, right? Courts are unique because they don't have enforceability powers like the other branches have. Congress has the power of the purse, and the executive branch has, the power to execute the law. So they have a lot of enforceability powers. Courts don't. They stand on their legitimacy and their credibility. And when they do what they're doing in all of these Trump prosecutions, they burn it into the wind. Here's a quote: "The mere fact that the suit has been the subject of intense media coverage is not sufficient to justify the closure of the case from the public." That's in the ABC versus Stewart case. Now, it's unclear if this court contemplates public filings of its email rulings or otherwise private correspondence with the parties at some later date. But even if it does, that is of no moment. Now, reasoning that later transcripts, right, the fact that we published this stuff later and they were later available to the public, that doesn't satisfy anything. We want it now. Now, Trump's defense continues. They say the court's March 8th email is an example of an important communication that must be public because it implicated Trump's rights under the state and federal constitutions, right? Judge, you issued a ruling, you sent it on an email from the toilet, and we want it on the docket so that we can all see what the heck is going on. Now, including his right to a fair trial and his right to defend himself, as well as under the law. Now, similarly, Trump's pre-motion letter in response to the court's March 8th letter, right, his pre-motion, his permission slip, is a judicial document that's subject to access principles discussed herein. So we want that on the docket. Judicial records should include documents that are relevant to the performance of the judicial function. If it shows what's happening, we want to be able to scrutinize that. And any document that would reasonably have a tendency to influence the court's ruling. Now, the prosecutorial misconduct and the discovery violations, this is why the judge doesn't want us to see this, that are described in Trump's pre-motion letter and in the enclosed motion, which have come to light only recently, should not be shielded from public view or summarily and wrongfully rejected by the court without consideration, right? Don't do it, Chris. Don't say it. Don't you object. Don't you file it. Because if they do, it's going to show up. We'll all see it. Saying access, this is another case, talking about access to the report is going to play a significant role in the public's understanding. So it weighs heavily in favor of having a right to access. So if it's very necessary for the public to understand what the heck is going on, we have a propensity to get it. Now, President Trump's Sixth Amendment right and the constitutional and common law right of access held by the public and the press, Your Honor, they require that these pre-motion letters and these emails and these other orders from you be made public and be done promptly. For the foregoing reasons, Trump respectfully submits that the court, you, Juan, should 1, unseal and docket all the pleadings, all the orders, all the written comms that have involved the court and the parties, including the emails and the letters, and also require simultaneous public access of all future pleadings and orders and written communications, except anything that we have to redact as required by your protective order and by the law. Sincerely, signed by Todd Blanche and Susan Nicholas, who are representing Trump and doing a great job. Now, here is one of the emails, right? This is an email order, and this is what they're saying is happening behind the scenes. And so Trump is basically, right, Trump's defense attorneys are basically adding this to the public docket for us. Like the judge is not doing it, but they're saying this is what we're talking about. Like this should be here. So here is from Honorable Juan Mercan. Here's the letter. Mr. Blanche, it appears you misunderstood this court's earlier order. Let's back it up. Judge Juan Mercan, please see attached. We will communicate with the people regarding redactions prior to filing. This is an email from Todd Blanche to the Honorable Judge, copying a bunch of other people, Susan Eccles and so on. Says, here, dear Judge, please see attached. We will communicate with the people regarding redactions prior to the filing. Respectfully submitted, Blanche. Right? So here's the document. They send this big document in. It's a sanctions motion, discovery sanctions motion. Hey, Judge, take a look. This is coming down the pike. Get ready for it. We're going to talk to the people about redacting it. Okay, we can't wait to drop this on the docket because we're going to take it and read through it and we're going to indulge. And it's going to be very good because Alvin Bragg is, committing sanctionable conduct. Here is what the judge says in response. So you're getting ready to go and file that. Says, Mr. Blanche, it appears you misunderstood this court's earlier order. Todd Blanche, it says the judge. You've attached, judge, typo, taking points off for that. You've attached what you refer to as a pre-motion letter, but you also attach an affirmation, a notice of a motion, and a 48-page motion. Right? So he's like, I'm going to file, I'm basically filing it. Further, you indicate that you will communicate with the people regarding redactions prior to filing. He says your pre-motion letter is accepted. If the people wish to respond, they will be given until Monday to do so. I will then decide whether to permit you to file a motion. What? To be crystal clear, so there is no confusion, your motion is not accepted at this time, and you may not file a motion unless until this court expressly authorizes you to do so. Therefore, nothing should be filed with the court, redacted or otherwise. JMM Judge. Okay, so Trump is saying, this is just standard motion practice, right? Hey, Your Honor, we have this motion that we're about to blast the government with, discovery sanctions. We're asking for sanctions because they did something that is sanctionable. They committed misconduct. And we're about to hit them in the head with that, legally. And the judge says, no, you're not. Don't you even dare file it. So Alvin, now that you know what their motion is, let me know what your response is, and then I'll tell you whether you're filing your motion or not. And then, guess what? This whole thing never ends up on the docket. Isn't that amazing? So nobody gets to read and see the actual motion for sanctions for Alvin Bragg because the judge is being very clever. Don't file anything with the court. I'll let you know, blah, blah, blah. And this email doesn't go on the docket. That's a ruling, right? The judge said, nope, holding this. This is like an order. But he doesn't want us to see what's happening. Okay, so with all that being said, now here's what the judge says. It's a pathetic justification for not giving us, the public, access to all of this material. These emails, this back and forth, we want to see it. Now, here is what the judge says. One, he says, all right, Trump moves this court to, one, unseal everything so we can see it, and then require the future unsealing of everything else. Now, as an initial matter, Juan says, this court notes that Trump's second request acknowledges that there are instances required by the protective order, as well as various statutes that prohibit simultaneous public access to, quote, all future pleadings, orders, and written communications. Now, defendant's first request is less clear. So to avoid confusion, this is the second time Trump is saying, hey, can you just make it public, please, since this is a nationally important case? To avoid confusion, the court denies Trump's motion to the extent that it seeks to unseal all or any information that is subject to our protective order or any other sealing required by law, which is not what Trump was saying at all, right? Like that's a red herring there. That's okay. You're missing the point. They actually put that in their motion, like subject to the protective order, unseal everything else. Was that email something that was subject to the protective order? That was just a conversation about a motion for sanctions. Why would that be something that needs to be sealed? Why does any of this need to be sealed? Why is there a protective order at all other than witness safety, right? Now, as to the heart of the defendant's request for public proceedings, So the judge gets rid of this. I'm denying anything that's already subject to the protective order. Okay, that's fine. Nobody was even asking about that, but okay. So as to the heart of the request, which is about public proceedings, that the public no longer be shielded from important communications and rulings, which is what is absolutely happening. It is this court's understanding that everything that is normally maintained in a court file is currently contained in the public file. No, it's not. So to repeat, as far as this court is aware, the public is not being shielded from anything normally maintained in the public court file. So I think that's probably true. So, but the problem is that they don't maintain anything in the public court file. So like I can go to the New York court website, and I did it today just to double check before this segment, and see case activity. I can see when the trial date's scheduled. You see a regular, back end. But if you click the motions button, there are no motions in there. There's nothing to download, nothing in there at all. So this actually might be true. Everything that's normally maintained in the court file is currently there, right? It's all normal. We don't normally post a bunch of stuff, maybe in the online docket. Maybe that's true. He says, in fact, look at this. We are so transparent. In other words, he's saying we are maintaining everything we already maintain. Now, the thing he's leaving off is that what they already maintain is nothing, zero, which presumably he knows. So we can't access any of that stuff. Now, he says, in fact, the unified court system has taken up the task of posting the substantive pleadings, the decisions and orders on the NewYorkCourts.gov website. A step, as far as this court is aware, which appears to be unique for a criminal case in the New York Supreme Court. So we're actually doing a better job of giving you more information that you would otherwise get. Now, of course, court proceedings in this matter have been open to the press and public alike since its inception. So you can go in there, right? We're going to see if Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee, and those guys go in there and live tweet this stuff or whatever happens, but it's not going to be live streamed as far as we know. And I'm going to show you what these substantive pleadings are, okay, in a minute. I'm going to go over to the court website and show you. In fact, let's do that right now. So he says, by the way, all this stuff is just accessible on the public web. So here is one example of this. You go over to New York. Here is the entire case file, apparently, right? This is it, right here. People versus Donald Trump criminal. Wow, incredible. And this is basically all you got. And if you go here, right, you can navigate to NewYorkCourts.gov and you'll see something like public information. Here it is. Cases in the news, okay? All Trump cases, because that's what everybody wants. So you click here, criminal, and guess what? This is it. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ugh. I eyeballed it. I thought it was 11, but it's 12. All right. So 12 documents on the whole docket. Thanks, Judge. Well, tremendous job. It should be like hundreds. Okay, this is a 2016 case. There are filings all over the place. We covered 2 of them today. So this is what the judge said is, this is good enough for the peasants. Okay, here, give them a couple of motions and tell them to get the heck out of there. There's nothing there. And let me see how quickly I can pull this one up. But if you go and you actually search for the Trump, the criminal portal, I'll just show you this since we're here together. If you just go into the portal, this is the New York portal. Judge says, oh, it's super easy to just go access the whole case file. All right, let's try it. Donald Trump. All right, let's see if we can find anything about Donald Trump. See if we can find the case here. Oh, there it is. The judge says everything is publicly accessible. Wow. So we maintain everything else that we already maintain everywhere else. Okay, watch. This is like what the judge said. We maintain everything that we maintain here as every other case. Perfect. We got the Trump case right here. Amazing. Donald Trump, New York Supreme Court, criminal court. Index. Oh, I'm like, I was looking, I'm like, oh, perfect. We'll be able to get all the motions here. Where are all the motions? Here's the incident date, February 14th, 2017. Case has been going on ever since. Next appearance date is April 15th. Look at this. Oh, there's a motions bank right here. Motions. Look. Oh, no. Oh, no. There are no motions on record for this case. Hey, thanks, Judge Juan. Nothing in there. Okay. This is on your website, not ours. So they don't put anything in there. They put the charges in there. They'll tell you what the charges are. But the appearances, they'll show you all the appearances, right? So you see a little bit of history here. But there's no filings in there. So this just useless judge, okay, tells us, it just boils my blood, just got done telling us, as far as the court's aware, as far as the court's aware, the public's not being shielded from anything not normally maintained in the public court file. Nothing! And we've done so much for the peasants out there who just care about what's happening in their country that we put like 12 documents up on the public docket. No transparency at all. And then gaslights everybody in his filing. You guys are, what's wrong with you idiots? Plenty there. Literally nothing, okay? So to the extent that Trump believes that there are communications with the court that are necessary to preserve his right to a public trial, as well as his First Amendment right of access that belongs to every individual in the general public, that's us. That's our right, right? We want to get access to that. And this judge is gaslighting us. He's lying to us. It's all available. Just go look it up. We just did. There's nothing there. He's certainly free to attach those communications to each and any relevant submission that he intends to make. So just like Todd Blanche just did, he can attach his emails to all the subsequent filings and drop them on the docket that way. So the defense attorney can now do the judge's work for him and put his own cover-up attempts on the docket. And of course, he's subject to do that according to, not limited to, our protective order. In fact, the defense has already done so, right? So in other words, they're already attaching all their stuff behind the pre-motion. The judge is like, I tried to get you to stop doing that with the pre-motion, but you outsmarted me by attaching it to the pre-motion and filing it anyways. So you've already done that. So the judge is like, you're very good at doing that, so why don't you just keep doing that? You've already done it in the instant motion where you attached my email to the back of this one, and you did it again in the motion to vacate the order on the filing of motions. You attached another email communication with the court. So clearly, you, Trump team, you are already making those communications part of the docket yourself. So I don't need to do it because you've already done it. Thanks. Now, to be clear, says the judge, all motions, decisions, and pleadings normally maintained in this court's public file are in the public file. Again, there's nothing in there, right? We're looking at it. Here's the case details. This is the public website. Here's the motions file. There are no motions on record for this case. Nothing. No orders, nothing to click, nothing here. There isn't anything. The judge knows that. So this answer is zero. There is zero there. Thanks, Judge. To the extent that the defense believes that anything normally maintained that is not subject to the order, he should identify the document and to the people. All of them, every one. The court will consider any objections and rule on the matter. Or you could say, right, or they should put them on this list. Put them on this file. Every single one in order from the very beginning of the case. Don't tell me there's 12 documents in the entire file, right? Put them all one by one, including the emails, every single line item. Trump has indicated there are multiple rulings that have been shielded from the public. However, in his memo and affirmation, he only talks about the March 8th email. Oh, so he didn't tell us what other ones. So that email noted that the defense had an apparent misunderstanding of one of the orders. The purpose of the email was to ensure that the defendant did not violate the order, and the court does not consider the email to be a decision in order because all it did is just reiterated the parties of an already issued order. Okay, so I didn't have to disclose that because we've already had it disclosed in the prior order. The court has considered the case law submitted by the defendant and finds much of it to be either inapplicable to the instant matter or contains legal authority which this court has been faithfully following. For example, in this case, it involved court TV and a fight against an absolute ban on TV trials. And so that's not relevant here. Not relevant here. New York's absolute ban on televised trials, right? So court TV is fighting against the absolute ban. So apparently we're not going to be watching this. So they say that's not an issue here because we're talking about court filings, not TV broadcasts, right? So that pertains to all motions, and so it doesn't matter here. Signed by Judge Juan Mercan, okay, telling us that everything is publicly available. We just all are just too stupid. You know, we have enough. You have enough, okay? It's all here, all these 12 documents, everything you need. Stop crying about access, Rob, you know, and just be happy with what we give you. And then if you need anything else, just go search for it. Just go search for it on the docket. And you'll see here, find everything you need here. We maintain it just like we maintain everything else right on the public docket. So that's what we've got in New York. And their star witness, as this case is unfolding, is this guy, Michael Cohen, who is a convicted perjurer for lying to Congress, says that Donald Trump should be very worried about him. And Alvin Bragg is going to bring this guy and put him on the stand.
Those are all questions that I'm pretty sure that the Manhattan District Attorney prosecutors would prefer that I not get into. So I would definitely like to kick that one off to Christie. But if I can say something about what she just said, which is accurate, the Manhattan District Attorney asked for these records from the Southern District of New York over 1 year ago. And what they received from the Southern District of New York, they turned over to the prosecutors. So I understand why Judge Mercan acted the way that he did as it related to Todd Blanche, and it was rightfully so. Another issue is, if you notice what Todd Blanche and the entire Trump team are so persistent at, is trying to attack me, my credibility, to try to figure out a way how to impugn, again, my reputation for the sole purpose of either delaying this trial.
You're a liar, dude. You've impugned your own reputation, okay? A federal judge just said that you, in your request to terminate your probation early, lied again. We just don't know where it happened, whether it was when you were taking your plea deal, when you lied to that judge, or whether it was a new lie when you were in Letitia James's courtroom. So either way, you lied. No one's wrecking your reputation other than yourself.
Further, or having it knocked off the calendar altogether, which is just, wishful thinking.
Well, you're not going to give us a preview of your testimony. You do know what this trial is about. So let me ask you something different. I mean, you said, as you just alluded to, the judge last week basically rejected Trump's motion seeking to bar your testimony from the upcoming trial. They tried to do that. What should Trump fear most about April 15th? I mean, this trial date is set. What should he be worried about?
This is that little soundbite, for all those people at home who just want a little bit more. I'm scared to death of Trump. The fear, prawn that's out there that they try to shove down everyone's gullet from MSNBC.
He should be worried about me. He should be worried about the Manhattan District.
You're going to lie again in another trial?
The District Attorney of New York prosecutors. He should be worried about the documentary evidence. He should be worried about all of the witnesses that are going to be coming in to that trial, simply because, as others have also appropriately put it, this is a very simple case. This is a case based upon documentary evidence and corroborating testimony. These documents don't lie, and they paint a very specific picture, one which, of course, does not inure to the benefit of Donald Trump.
All right, so that's going to be their star witness,
those are all
who is out there, and it is Michael Cohen, who, we can just see is going to be a disaster because the guy just lies nonstop. Now, Alina Habba is out. Of course, she's talking about the New York cases and very happy about a major victory that occurred yesterday when Trump, who should have wrote the book called The Art of the Bond, created a pretty good deal with the bond companies, will be creating a pretty good deal with the bond companies after his bond was reduced from $464 million down to $175 million. Still has to pay it, but it was a big victory and a big win for the Trump defense team, and Alina Habba was involved in that. This is Alina.
What happened today was that Letitia had to eat every single tweet she has posted since the day the twisted order from Judge Engoron came out, with the ridiculous number, with the disgusting injustice on the American people, not just Donald Trump. And I would love to see what she tweeted today, because she was having fun posting the interest on a man who has done nothing wrong and a family who has done nothing wrong every single day. And then the appellate division came in and said, sorry. Due process still exists in America. You still get a right to keep your assets until we get to review what all these lawyers are saying was wrong. 11 weeks, I have never seen something, Jesse, like I saw in that courtroom. It was a travesty on the justice system. And I am so proud of the appellate division for giving us the opportunity. They didn't reverse the case, but they will when they see what we saw.
That's right.
It was a disgrace. And today, there was a little bit of faith in the American system that I've lost over the past few years, I'll be honest with you.
Do you think Tish James and Judge Ergeron, do they feel ashamed, a little embarrassed? Have they felt, I don't know, maybe they overreached a little bit after this decision?
No.
Well, that would mean that they have a moral compass or a conscience, and I don't feel that exists.
Yeah, clearly not. No.
People that go on TV, censor Donald Trump, shut him off when he's speaking, want to act like he's about to go broke, want to act like he's poor, and that's why he couldn't get a bond that no private company has ever been asked to get, with no cash equivalents other than cash, marketable securities. People that get excited for that, they don't have a conscience, Jesse. But, I hope she took a little piece of humble pie today, because that's what was served to her. Just a little.
Take that,
but we'll be serving a lot more of that in the next couple of years.
And she'll be eating humble pie. You'll be having birthday cake. We hear it's your birthday, so happy birthday.
Thank you, Jesse.
Happy birthday, Alina, from the Watcher fam. We'd love to celebrate with you. We love to celebrate your birthday, Alina. Looking good, however old you are. All right, so that was Alina Habba in the house. And of course, big victory on getting that bond reduced. More victories to come. So we're watching this, partisan onslaught, multiple criminal trials, but they're all weak. They're all terrible, terrible cases. Michael Cohen is going to be their star witness, who's a convicted perjurer who probably lied again when he was in Tish's courtroom. So they're bringing him back out for the Alvin Bragg case. And of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover this, my friends. It really is a shame. Again, if they have the evidence, then they should just let us see it. Why is everything buried under the dark of night? Put it on the public docket. Let us see everything. Why does Liz Cheney have to delete the actual video recordings of the J6 interviews? How come transcripts are missing? Where did all the Secret Service text messages go? And so on and so forth. They do not want us to see the truth of what is happening, which is why we're grateful that you are here and joining us as we go through these filings, every single one of them as they come in. And so we're grateful to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing and liking this video wherever it is you're watching it. We'd love it if you'd invite a friend or family member to come over here and join us and say, look at what they're doing in these cases. We're covering all the criminal cases, the civil prosecutions, the Supreme Court oral arguments, anything related to Trump 2024, we got to cover it here. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking out some of the links down in the description below, including our homepage, robertgovea.com, where you can grab the PDFs that we went through here today, and you can sign up for our daily newsletter. That way you get our segments translated, delivered to your inbox, and you can forward those emails to everyone you've ever met or known in your entire life, and they'll love you for it. They're like, oh, another email. I love it. Perfect. So send them out there, my friends. And come and join us on Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have a great members-only community there. We do streams in the morning, streams on Saturday, and after parties after the lives. We'd love to have you, so come say hello, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. But my friends, that is it for us here, and we'll see you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. Alina's 40. Woo, looking pretty good over there, Alina. All right, we covered some good ground today, my friends. Judge Juan Mercan burying court records, denying public access to the case files and the materials that we need to see. Judge gags Trump before the trial begins in New York, and so he's not going to be out there being able to talk about Michael Cohen or the judge's DNC daughter. We're going to look into that one, see what that's all about. Thanks, Trump, for bringing that to our attention. Can't wait to talk about it nonstop. Oh, it's going to be fun. So now it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about this over from our friends at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, of course, over on the YouTubes and elsewhere. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is where we are going for our after party. But let's see who is here on the day. This morning, Metal Seer says, Joe doesn't sound like he did in the State of the Union. That was from our members only stream this morning. YouTube friends join us on that one too. But yeah, because he wasn't cracked out on methamphetamines this morning. Thank you for that one, Metal Seer. And Jennifer says, have a terrific Taco Tuesday, Rob and watchers. And that's from our morning stream. Wishing everybody hellos and good mornings and a terrific Taco Tuesday. Good to see you, Jennifer. So let's see who is joining us on today and what you guys say about the show this afternoon. Whoa! We got one of our mods in the house, Don't Mind Me. Been a membo for 9 months. 9 months as a membo. Amazing, Don't. And you know what time it is, baby? It's a baby. You know what this is? It's a baby. 9 months. We love welcoming our watcher babies here. We got one with Don't Mind Me in the house. Grateful to have our newest membo, our newest baby in the house. Good to see you, Don't. Thanks for modding the fort down for us. This old guy is here. What's up, this old guy? Bringing in Judge Juan Kangaroo Mercon. Juan Mercon, Kangaroo Courtroom Judge. Glocky's here. Says, this one is from Glocky, talking about Joe Biden. I knew from the moment that he smelled my hair that I would be his press secretary. She's a little too old for that. He likes them younger. He makes a beeline when he's over there sniffing babies. It's very strange. Watch him. It's weird. Flagpole guy says, Jesus and our flag. One died for your salvation. The other gave countless souls for your civic freedoms. It's our choice to keep either. May we choose well. May we choose well. Good to see you, flagpole guy, in the house, putting up some beautiful flags and making our country better for it. Good to see you, flagpole guy, in the house. Hey, Bonnie's in the house. Hey, what's up, Bonnie? Amazing. Bonnie, what a nice comment. Bonnie's been a membo for a very long time. Thank you, Bonnie. It means a lot. Says, I don't say it enough. You're the best creator and former teacher on the net. What? Plus, you're funny, intelligent, and entertaining. That cherry on the top of your content. Well, thank you, Bonnie. I really appreciate that. That's a really nice compliment. I know if you've been around for a long time, Bonnie, we've been through some stuff together. We got some scars together. I know it. We've been through it. So it's a really nice compliment coming from you. And so thank you for saying that. We have fun. We try to have fun here. We try to dabble in a little bit of, content that's, substantive, have some fun and get into it. Thank you, Bonnie. Really glad to have you here as a part of our community. The community is us. So it's like you're a part of that, Bonnie. So thanks for being a part of it. We got Glocky's here sharing this one. Here's a question from Jeopardy. Question. Here, what's the clue? This act represents a law that involves racketeering. AOC. Bloop. What is tennis? Sorry. What? That's a racist question. I demand a redo. MAGA Hat is here. Weissman, CFO, is talking about who they were referencing there in the filing. The old guy who's not doing well. I thought it might be Weissman, or I think maybe Weisselberg, the CFO. G-Man is here as our newest supporter. Welcome aboard, G-Man. Very nice to see you. We got this one from Betrayed by Corrupt Scumbags, which is a good name for many of us, unfortunately. Freedom of speech, Trump 2024, a membo for 16 months. That's almost 2 full babies. Oh my gosh. We've seen some stuff too, Betrayed. A little frazzled over these 16 months. Good to have you here. Thanks for being a membo for 16 full months. It's amazing. We got a long road ahead, but we're glad to have you. We got this old guy says, Ronna McDaniels lasted all of 5 days at NBC before being forced out. Did they throw her out? They are such weenies. They threw out Ronna. Ronna was like the closest thing to them, who's like a Republican. She was like basically MSNBC, like basically. Not exactly, but like just a shade of gray different. And they threw her out? That's hilarious. So they're just, going even more orthodox. Yeah, they were crying about it. Yeah, Rachel Maddow and Joe Scarborough. Joe Brzezinski, excuse me. He, that's his new identity. All right, wow. Pathetic. All right, Glocky says, Biden just never stops. Shout out to Brick Suit. Yeah, shout out to Brick Suit. Hey, it's Brick Suit on X. Says, Biden claims to have taken the train over the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Says he has been over the bridge many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware, either by train or by car. But the bridge only had 4 lanes of traffic and no rail line. Knox is here, a defense attorney in Texas, says, Happy Tuesday, all. Maher thinks that Trump made a deal with the devil, and the audience nods in agreement. So weird. That was a weird one with that other woman who talked to Don Lemon. They're weird. Yeah, they're weird. They're like, how does Trump keep finding success like over the last, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years? Dude is successful for like 7 decades. All right, like literally. And they're like, this is all just lucky. I can't believe it. This is ridiculous. He made a deal with the devil. Or he's just somebody who's got some talent and some skill set. And maybe you should not treat him like the caricature that you've been sold, idiots. Michael S. is here. What's up, Michael? Welcome aboard. Good to see you as a membo. Rob's on Rumble says, what about Fanny's church speech making public statements about someone her office was, is, or might be prosecuting? Fanny didn't affect the case against Trump. Sounds like misconduct of a court officer. Well, I mean, that might be your opinion, but the judge is going to just, it's the judge's opinion. He wrote a basis for it. So I don't think it's anything that would be gross misconduct. He's a judge. He can write, it's a bad opinion, but he's free to write a bad opinion. Rob says, candidates pay for advertising for campaigns. Assuming Stormy wasn't trying to extort Trump, he paid her to not advertise. Is there a difference in an ads paid from personal funds? I'm sure that there is for FEC, right? You got to trace your money, where it comes from, where it goes, what it's used for. Just Thinking says, can the media or members of the public appeal Mercan's hush order? No, I don't think so. So it's a great question, right? The real, I think, legal question is like, would you have standing as a member of the public to sue Judge Mercan to say your gag order is violating our First Amendment rights to hear from Trump? I think he would just say, well, the courts would say he has discretion. I don't think it would be a successful lawsuit. The courts would say, well, he has discretion on this. The only thing that makes that a little bit different is that this is an election year and Trump is the leading presidential candidate. So you might say, yeah, like in other cases, if you tried to sue to get a judge to undo a gag order because it's infringing on your right to hear from the person, you might say, well, what's the harm from that if it's not granted? And the harm in a non-election year with a regular defendant who's not a presidential candidate is probably minimal, but that's not the situation here. So there is actual harm, like there is actual damages. You are a member of, like, so somebody in New York might file a lawsuit. My right to the information is, but then they would turn around and say, well, just go to court, just go walk into court. You can just go hear from him. But I want to hear about Trump's opinion about these people, which he is now gagged from doing. So I think there's a claim there, but it's New York, so it probably wouldn't go anywhere. But it's a fun question and a great hypo. And thanks for the dono, Just Thinking. Sheila P. says, it's sickening how corrupt our so-called justice system is. You're right about that, Sheila. And it just gets kind of worse by the day, doesn't it? There was some little hope that Judge McAfee might, actually be someone who lives with integrity, like he's lied to all of us and said he would. But then you get totally deflated and you realize what is actually going on. Hey, it's the Munkets in the house. Bringing in Kathy B. EB's in the house. We got Nicole B. We got Riley L. We got Jay Liebgott all in the house, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets, bringing in 5 new members. Thank you, Tony, for doing that. We got Jackie C. says, Alina Habba had a birthday yesterday. Happy 40th birthday to Alina Habba. I'm sure she's waiting for our happy birthday message. Happy birthday, Alina. We love you here. Have a tremendous birthday. 40 looking good. All right. Ravicus says, northern border north of Grand Forks, North Dakota, has seen a 400% increase in encounters at the border. Congressman Kelly Armstrong. In the Grand Forks sector, we've seen a 400% spike in the encounter rates at the northern border. And as a member of the Northern Border Security Caucus, I was proud to join this letter and the press for answers. So some other investigation is going on. Border patrol problems at the northern border, no doubt. Ravicus, thank you for that. Pinochet says, Rob, we can't run a star chamber if it's public. We need to eliminate our enemies undercover. Grumpy Knuckles says, a flood of amicus and complainant briefs if the public sees it. If we can see what they're doing, then we'll see it. If we can see what they're doing, then we'll know how deep the corruption goes. Richard C. What's up, Richard C., our newest supporter in the house. Welcome to our YouTube community. Grateful to have you. Freedom Gear says, hey, Rob, finally joined locals. YouTube wasn't letting me send anything. This is freedomgear.org, which is a website which has gear related to freedom. Did you get your gift package? No, I have not. But my intention is, I think I'm going to the post office tomorrow or Thursday, one of the 2 days. And Freedom Gear created some Freedom Gear for us here, and we're excited to unbox it. This one is from John. John says, hey, Rob, just reminding you that I need a mod wrench. Thank you, my friend, and thank you for keeping us sane. Have a great day. So with the mods, there have been some mods that have not been around for quite some time, and so I am revisiting the mod squad list because I know we have some tremendous mods like John and others who help us on the regular daily basis, and some other mods we haven't seen around in a while. And so we're going to reconstitute that, John, but thanks for the reminder on that. Thanks for being a mod and helping out. We got some other comments from some others. This one came in from Sandy. Sandy says, if Trump needs to appeal, how can he give a complete record to the appellate court if the docket is incomplete and orders are being made via email? It will get kicked back for an incomplete record. If Trump needs to appeal, how can we give a complete record? Exactly, right. That's a huge problem, which is why we want the docket to be valid so we can see what's going on. Glocky's here. Okay, so just so everyone understands how close to World War III your kids are about to be fighting in, besides Russian intelligence saying this, Israel is also now saying a Palestinian sniper who killed some of their SF guys was trained in Jordan by the U.S. Interesting. Here's one from Pablo. Been a membo for 7 months. Says, what's up? We got Cowboy Rob. Says, Rob, I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV. But you know what? I know enough about the law because I do know enough that the judge doesn't get to decide whether or not you can file a motion. Don't do it, Chris. Don't do it. Remember that? So yeah, it's wild. Like you're a lawyer, you're like practicing in law, and like you're told that you can like file stuff and say stuff in court unless they're trying to cover up a prosecution. Then suddenly you don't get to participate anymore. You don't get to participate. We got this one from Tony. Hey, 5 more membos coming in. We got Stephen K. Anita's here. Marilyn R. That's not my name. And Dirk from Texas is coming in. Thank you, Tony. Hey, for bringing in 5 more membos. And Cowboy Rob says, by the way, can you do a show about the Electoral College, seeing as how the Electoral College doesn't have to elect Trump regardless of the popular vote? Well, there are some efforts right now, I think, to do away with the Electoral College or to basically make it inconsequential so that every state would just basically default to what the popular vote was, which is kind of an insane thing. So I don't know that we'll do a full show on that, but you're a membo, Cowboy Rob. Maybe it'll be something we get into in the mornings. Solo, what's up, Solo Ones? Welcome aboard, Solo Ones. Great to have you. Welcome to our supporter community. And Dolphin Fan is the man in the house, and he's bringing in Truth Seeker Human. Cloud 99. Vegas Woman is here. Dr. No... 702 area code. Yeah, I know that. Vegas. Yeah. C. Warren is here, and Dr. No Name, all courtesy of Dolphin Fan, is the man bringing in membos in the house. Thank you, Dolphin. Rob says, it sounds like Juan Mercan is keeping notes like Nathan Wade is. Yeah, in his head. Yeah, it doesn't even need to be on the docket because he's got it all right up here. There is nothing there in his head except what the executive branch tells him. Is the gag order on the motion page? I don't know if it's on the court's motion page, but it will be on our motion page soon enough. Glocky says, hey, plot twist. Governor Hochul pardons Trump because she knows he's going to win, and she's going to need him to sign legislation to bail out New York because of all the illegals that are draining the system. And today they started handing out $1,400 debit cards to the illegals. That's crazy. I say that because he said something nice about her earlier when he talked about Letitia running against her. Fred is here, says, okay, how much SC to talk like Salty Cracker for 1 minute? To talk like Salty Cracker for 1 minute from Fred Pedamonte. Well, that's for him. That's his show. You should go give him a super chat for his amazing hard work. Catherine is here, says, Rob, you should file an amicus brief. Well, that sounds like a lot of work, Catherine, and there's a lot smarter lawyers out there than me, that's for sure, who would be good for that. Glocky says, wait, I thought that Cohen was a playwright. An anti-Trump musical hyped by Michael Cohen is trash. This is so bad. This is another reason to never go to New York. Knox is here, says, all counsel and jury need sneeze screens to protect them from Cohen's spit. Yuck. Felix is here, says, totalitarianism is the word for what both Democrats and rhinos are doing. Yeah, I agree, right? We throw around all of these different terms like communism, fascism, deep state, whatever. It's all about assuming power at the expense of our liberties, consolidating power at our loss. Sandra says locals isn't working. It looks like it's working okay over here on our end, Sandra. Hopefully it's working back over there for you. Will C says, can Trump's legal team appeal this ruling? I'm sure they can. The question is going to be, can they do it now or later? And so I would argue it should happen now because it also impacts the campaign and there's no do-overs on that. So he should be able to speak now. Ravika says, how do you see how long you've been a membo? On locals, just go to your profile. Just click your profile. I think it says since, it tells us when. John says, Rob, all the wrench memes are hilarious. Ragging on from John NV. Hopefully you didn't skip. Too funny. Yeah, I did skip them all. King Ginger is here. Member for 9 months. Says, newest MAGA minion is here. 9 months, we got a baby. Hashtag Trump forever. LOL. Amazing. King Ginger, our newest baby in the house. Thank you, King Ginger, for being a membo for 9 months. It's adorable. I think it's going to be a soccer player. We don't know. Hey, it's the Munkets. Bringing this one in. Holy F is coming in. Sarah K, Cyndia M, Pitch L, and JG all coming in courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony Hay. We got Lamone Bohr. Lamone Bohr says, hey, Rob, really appreciate what you are doing for all of us. Hey, thank you for saying that. Well, I appreciate you for being a membo. Thank you, Lamone, for becoming a membo over on Locals, and we are glad to have your support. Couldn't do it without you, so thanks for that. Rosie Posey says, great show. By the way, quick update on my 13-year-old Lucy. Back on Thursday, Lucy was hit by a virus and was slated to go to States in Pennsylvania for archery the next day. I reached out to Watching the Watchers for prayers. Thanks to everyone's prayers and her hearing your experience about wrestling when not in full health. We told that story. She mustered 1 hour of top performance. It was amazing. She almost reached her top score, missed it by 3 points, scored a 271 out of a total of 300. The coach couldn't even believe it after her being so sick. Thank you, Watcher fam. Amazing. Shout out to Lucy. Kicking some serious booty over there. 7th grade girls ranked. Look at that. 5 out of 75. Woo! Amazing. 271. That's some good numbers there. Look at that. And this was an archery tournament. That's exactly right. I remember this story because we were talking about wrestling, man. And I remember having some pretty, not so good wrestling tournaments where I'd be there pretty sick, but your body, the adrenaline kind of gives you a second wind and you can come back out and still persevere because you've put in the work. You've already put in the hard work ahead of time. So tremendous news. Shout out to Lucy, 271 and a big showing. Tremendous job. Shout out to Lucy. Chat's showing it too. Shout out to Lucy. Amazing. Hey, and thank you, Rosie. Great comment, and shout outs to Lucy. We got this one from a Pink Rose. Hey, what's up? A Pink Rose says, everything you need to know about the judge's daughter is over on this account, Lauren M426. All right. I'll take a look at that because she's going to go on the slide deck now moving forward. Hey, what's up, David S? David S is here saying, bringing in Devin M, Jerry M, Linda G, Keister Bunny's here, Kanani M, Captain Flatastic, Adam M, Charles S, Amanda L. Have a good one. All coming in courtesy of Dave Smith. David, thank you for doing that, my man. Appreciate you being a member. Thanks for bringing in 10 new members. Our newest of members are going to be joining us tomorrow on our members only stream in the morning. And David, hopefully we see you there too. Thanks again for that. Hey, Lamone, who I think gave me a correction. It is, oh, here it is. Says, I am one of the people. BOR is Bill of Rights. I am one of the people. Bill of Rights, right? I am one Bill of Rights. Got it. Thank you for that, for the correction. Here's one. Says, what do you think about what is next in Fulton County in the Fannie case? What do you think about what is next? Well, we got a motions hearing scheduled on Thursday. So we're going to see what the judge does on some of those other motions. And then, honestly, we're going to have to start talking about a trial date again. Pending appeal. That is pending the appeal. What happens if the Court of Appeals accepts it? Then my argument would be, okay, since it's been accepted, now that is going to stay or should stay all the underlying proceedings. Whether it works like that in Georgia, I don't know, but that would be my argument, because at that moment, right now, Fannie, who may or may not be legitimate because it's on appeal, is still prosecuting a case. So I think that she should be stopped from continuing that forward until we get a decision from the Court of Appeals. We got Melanie. What's up, Melanie? Says, just sending some support. Thank you for all you do, Rob. Thank you, Melanie. Thanks for being a membo. Thank you for sending in a very generous dono today and tonight. And we appreciate you being here and supporting our work and our show and our community, and for being a part of it. All right, let's say hello to our friends on X before we wrap it up and go on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We're seeing who's joining us. We got any X comments over here? We do. What is this one? Here, Palmy No says, AI wrote a song about you selling shirts. The prompt was an upbeat song about Robert from Watching the Watchers selling shirts on YouTube. It looks like it's a banger. It looks like it's a banger for sure. It's going to be good. I can't wait to listen to it. Hey, Vientikis is here. We got Alfred Newman, George over there. We got this nice puppy. And Sven. What's up, Sven? Look at this puppy. We'll skip that one. Here's one from Alfred. And Vientikis says, I see all these people talking about how corrupt the justice system has become. It's always been corrupt. There's just more of a vested interest against you right now. That's a good point. Yeah, it feels a lot more corrupt when it's like in your face, and they are now attacking half the country as political extremists. Doesn't feel so good. So this, my friends, is where we are headed next, to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. And we would love to see you come and join us over there. We do streams in the morning and streams on Saturday. Don't forget to check out robertgovea.com for PDFs, for the calendar, for our newsletter, and for some other things. Watcherlodge.com to check out the Living with Meaning and Purpose Masterclass, all free. Got PDFs, downloads, all sorts of good stuff over there. You can also check out the shopping button on YouTube. If you like some of these shirts, I get them from Nordstrom's. They're all linked on YouTube. And so you can just click those links, go over to Nordstrom's, fill up your cart with all sorts of stuff. Doesn't have to be this shirt, whatever. Just, load up, get some good stuff, and treat yourself, because you deserve to look good. And summer's coming. And so it's time to refresh that wardrobe. So click the shopping button on YouTube. Check out some of the shirts. I think I put this exact shirt in there today, so you can grab that one if you're interested. But that, my friends, is going to be it for us on the day. We are going to wrap it up on head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. But we want to say thanks to the amazing mods who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly, including Vientikis Prime, our friend K Bean. We got Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, Zulu, Beyond Geo, Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janek, Dog Digger, and Donut Mind Me, all modding the fort down, keeping things nice and orderly, and we are grateful for our mods. We got Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan, N810, and Geegum Geegum, all as our meme smiths, keeping things nice and beautiful as well. And so that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to come back here tomorrow. It's going to be Wednesday, and we're going to see what is in store for us. And when we come back here, you know what? We're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.